I hadn't been home in months, maybe longer, and truthfully, I didn't miss it. But when the invite came, simple, polite, no guilt tripping, I said yes. I told myself I was mature enough now. I could sit through a family dinner without getting pulled back into old roles or raw memories. The house looked the same, a little more faded maybe, but familiar in that uncanny way where nothing has changed and yet everything feels off. As I stepped through the door, my mother called out from the kitchen with exaggerated cheer, just in time. We were about to start. My father stood from the table like he wasn't sure if we were doing hugs or not. We didn't. My sister barely looked up from her phone, one headphone in, scrolling with her thumb in perfect teenage detachment, even though we were all well into adulthood now. My seat had already been pulled out. A glass of cranberry juice waited at my place, no ice, just like I used to like it. Not a fancy drink. Not thoughtful. Just a placeholder from a version of me they hadn't updated. My mom gave me a strained smile. You still like cranberry, right? I nodded. Sure. The table was too neat, the food too simple, roasted chicken, potatoes, green beans. The conversation was polite, surface level. Weather. Work. Traffic. Laughter at things that weren't really funny. I was answering a question about my apartment when it happened. My phone buzzed quietly in my lap. I glanced down, just out of habit. A message, no name, just bold black letters. Get up and leave. Don't say anything to your parents. I froze. The room didn't. My dad kept talking. My mom passed the salt. My sister sighed at her phone. The air didn't shift, but something inside me did. I read it again. Get up and leave. Don't say anything to your parents. And somehow, deep in my gut, I knew I wasn't being paranoid. I was being warned. I'm just going to use the bathroom, I said, trying to sound casual, sliding my chair back. No one flinched. No one looked up. I took my phone with me and climbed the stairs slower than I had to, ears tuned for footsteps behind me. There were none. I went to the upstairs bathroom. The one with the lock that actually worked, that didn't creak when you closed it. I locked the door, sat on the edge of the tub, and stared at the message. Get up and leave. Don't say anything to your parents. There was no punctuation, no emojis, no nickname or context. Just a cold, flat instruction. I should have deleted it. Instead, I hit call. It rang once. Then a voice, "You're still there?" I blinked. Who is this? It's me. Mark. I hadn't heard that voice in almost a year. My sister's ex. Or maybe still her boyfriend. With them, it was always some dramatic on-again, off-again mess. But he sounded different now, lower, urgent, like he was hiding behind a wall or speaking from the back of a closet. What's going on? I whispered. You need to leave. Now. Don't drink anything. Especially not the juice. My eyes drifted to the glass I hadn't touched. Why? I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. He hesitated. I can't explain it all right now. Just trust me, okay? Something's not right. No. Not okay. You don't get to just drop a bomb like that and hang up. What's going on? Silence on the line. Then finally, they're not just mad at you. They're desperate. I felt my mouth go dry. Not from fear exactly, but from the sudden realization that someone, somewhere, had crossed a line. And I had just stepped into their plan. Whatever this was, it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was calculated. As I sat on the edge of the tub, phone slipping from my grip, something shifted, not just in that moment, but somewhere deeper, older. A memory stirred, not sharp but heavy, like a stone buried beneath layers of time. Growing up, being the older sister didn't come with a ceremony. Just quiet expectation. I was the one who saved her allowance. She was the one who spent it in 2 days, on gum, stickers, glitter pens, whatever elementary school kids thought made them rich. And when she ran out, they looked at me. She doesn't have any left. You still do, Mom would say, like it was obvious. Don't be selfish. It wasn't a rule. It was a pattern. I learned it young and obeyed it well. In high school, I worked weekends at a local pharmacy. Minimum wage, but enough to buy my own jeans without asking. My sister didn't work. She was younger, and no one expected her to. When she wanted concert tickets or new shoes, the nudges came again. She's just a kid, Dad would murmur. You're more mature, Mom added, like that was a gift, not a burden. When I left for college, 2 states away, it felt like breathing clean air for the first time. No more sighs, no guilt-laced favors. Just silence. Until I graduated. Until I got my first job in tech. Junior developer. Small paycheck, long hours, a flicker of pride I didn't know what to do with. Then the calls started again. Could you help with her enrollment deposit? Books are expensive. She's stressed. You know how hard finance is. And like a reflex, I said yes. The way I always had. I didn't realize until much later that every yes was costing me something more than money. It was costing me the belief that my love was unconditional. Because it wasn't love they leaned on. It was obedience. And somewhere between paychecks and pity, I had become their silent solution. Not a daughter. Not a sister. Just the fixer. But I was tired. And now? Now I was scared. Because if this was a pattern, what came next didn't feel like love either. It felt like a setup. It didn't happen all at once, me saying no. At first, I kept doing what I always had. Paid for books. Covered fees. Sent just a little extra when she had a rough week. Until one day, I realized I was holding my breath every time my phone rang. I got a promotion, a modest one, mid-level, but it meant something to me. I called my mom, wanting to share the moment. Her response? That's great. So, how much do you make now? Not even a pause before she added, do you think you could support your sister's semester abroad? She's so excited about it. No congratulations. No pride. Just the next request in a long line of quiet withdrawals from an emotional ATM. That was the moment something hardened inside me. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just stopped. No more just this once. No more budgeting for someone else's bad planning. I didn't make an announcement. I simply let the pattern end. And then came the silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that buzzes in your ear like a threat. No texts. No calls. Just the ache of being unmissed. Weeks passed. Then the crack in the quiet. Your sister needs help. It's serious. They never explained what serious meant, only that she needed $12,000. They asked like it was obvious, like I'd say yes because I always had. I refused. That night, I called her myself. She didn't even try to deny it. She'd been gambling. Lost more than she could pay. If word got out, her career in finance would be over before it began. I asked one question, has this happened before? She didn't answer. But she didn't have to. And that's when I told her, for the first and final time. No. Not out of spite. Not to punish her. But because I was done being the safety net for people who never planned to land on their own. When the invitation came, it wasn't elaborate. Just a short message. Dinner. Just the family. Hope you'll come. No apology. No mention of the fight. No explanation. Just a warm, clean-swept sentence like nothing had ever gone wrong. I told myself they were reaching out. Maybe they'd accepted it, my refusal, my boundaries. Maybe they were ready to let things heal. I wanted to believe that. Desperately. So I said yes. I dressed nice, not too nice. Neutral. Like I wasn't trying to prove anything. When I arrived, the house looked exactly as I remembered, right down to the wind chimes Mom never dusted and the porch light that flickered like a warning sign no one noticed. Inside, everything was perfect. Too perfect. The table was already set. My seat was pulled out. The cranberry juice waited, full glass, no ice. Same cup I always used when I lived there. Same pattern in the ceramic, tiny chips near the rim, like old memories nobody wanted to fix. "We're so glad you came," Mom said, kissing my cheek. Her tone was light, almost airy, but her eyes didn't match. They scanned me, my face, my hands, my purse. Dad smiled. My sister waved, phone in one hand, fork in the other. Like nothing had ever happened. I smiled back. Sat down. Pretended the air didn't feel too still. I glanced at the glass. The cranberry juice looked darker than usual, too dense, almost syrupy. Or maybe that was my imagination. Maybe it wasn't. I picked it up, tilted it slightly, enough for a casual sip, but I didn't drink. Instead, I angled it below the table, pretending to stretch, and slowly let some of it trickle onto the carpet beneath me. It soaked in silently. No one noticed. I set the glass back, wiped my hand on my napkin, and leaned back into the role they always expected of me, the quiet one, the steady one. The fool. Only this time, I wasn't asleep. This time, I was watching. I let my body go slack. It wasn't hard. My pulse was already racing, my breath shallow, the juice I didn't drink now seeping into the rug like a buried secret. I leaned back against the couch, let my eyes flutter shut. Felt the warmth of a blanket draped over me, Mom's hand, I think. Her touch was gentle. Too gentle. The kind of tenderness that only appears when someone wants you too still, too quiet, too easy to control. "She okay?" my sister whispered. "She's out," my dad replied. Calm. Flat. Like they were discussing the weather. "Let's do this," Mom said. I heard my phone being lifted. The slight creak of the couch shifting under their weight. Then something colder, fingers wrapping around my hand. My thumb being positioned with eerie care. Soft pressure. A tap. Then, a buzz. Unlocked. No hesitation. No guilt. They just did it. Like this had been practiced. Like it wasn't their first time. "She always saves everything," my sister muttered, tapping rapidly. "Bank logins, autofill, it's all here." "How much do we need?" Mom asked, as if discussing groceries. "Not all of it," Dad answered. "Just enough to settle things." "Settle what?" I fought the tremble rising in my hands, kept breathing slow, shallow, measured. Every word hit harder than the last. "She won't even notice," Mom added. "She blacks out after one drink, remember?" "She always has," my sister said, almost fondly. Like it was a shared inside joke. The betrayal didn't burn, it chilled. Because it wasn't rage or revenge. It was methodical. They weren't trying to hurt me. They were trying to use me. But the fingerprint wasn't enough. "It's asking for a code," my sister whispered. "Two-step verification." "She changed it," Dad hissed. More tapping. Dead ends. Frustration thick in the silence. Then Mom sighed. "Just put the phone back." And they did. Just like that. No apologies. No second guessing. Like they hadn't just crossed a line they could never uncross. They thought I was unconscious. That was the most terrifying part, not just what they did, but how sure they were I wouldn't wake. Wouldn't know. Wouldn't remember. But I'd planned ahead. Before I left the bathroom, I made one simple adjustment. I disabled fingerprint access on my bank apps. Left the phone unlockable, yes, but only to what I wanted them to see. The real security? That was hidden. Two-factor authentication. No SMS. No backup codes lying around. Just a biometric lock that led nowhere, and a private authentication app tied to a separate device. My device. And the recording? Running the entire time. No blinking red dot. No obvious app open. Just background audio, silently capturing every word, every whisper, every press of a stolen thumb. I work in tech. Not the flashy kind. The infrastructure kind. I build systems for people who try to outsmart systems. So I knew exactly what they'd overlook. They thought they were stealing. But they were documenting a confession. I lay there, eyes closed, heart hammering. Not from fear anymore, but from the clarity of it all. They hadn't just broken my trust. They'd proved who they were when they thought I wasn't watching. When they finally stepped away, I waited. 5 seconds. 10. Let them settle. Let them believe. Then I blinked. Sat up slowly. Rubbed my eyes like someone waking from a fog. Sorry, I mumbled. Don't know what that was. I must have blacked out for a sec. They looked at me like they were trying to remember how to act normal again. You okay? My dad asked, voice oddly tight. Yeah, I said. Think I just need some air. But what I really needed was distance. And proof. I already had both. I drove to the police station like I was heading to the grocery store. No panic. No tears. Just quiet motion. The air outside was cool, the sky dusky. Everything looked painfully normal, strip malls, traffic lights, a man walking his dog. Inside, the station smelled faintly of coffee and dust. A woman sat behind thick glass, chewing her pen. I waited in line behind a guy disputing a parking ticket. When it was my turn, I didn't lower my voice. I need to report a crime, I said. She raised an eyebrow. What kind of crime? They drugged me, I replied. And tried to steal from me. There was a pause. She blinked. Do you know who did it? Yes, I said. My parents. And my sister. 10 minutes later, I was in a quiet room with an officer who didn't ask unnecessary questions. He just listened. I played the recording. Every word. Every attempt. From the moment my mom whispered, "Is she asleep?" to the frustration when their theft failed. The officer's expression didn't shift until the last few minutes. That's when he leaned back slightly and said, "Do you realize what they were trying to do?" I nodded. They were after my money. They used my fingerprint. They tried to access my accounts. I showed him the banking app logs, the failed attempts, the timestamps that lined up perfectly with the audio. His notes grew longer. More focused. "This is serious," he said at last. "I know," I replied. He asked if I was okay, if I had somewhere safe to stay. I told him yes. I'd already made that decision long before I walked through the station doors. Filing the report didn't make me feel victorious. It didn't even feel brave. It just felt necessary. They had made their choice. Now I was making mine. 2 days later, my phone lit up with a fury I hadn't seen in weeks. Messages. Missed calls. A voicemail. The first was from my mom. "Did you actually report your own family? What is wrong with you?" I didn't respond. My sister's voicemail came next. Her voice trembled, not with remorse, but frustration. It was just a mistake. You blew this up for no reason. Then my dad called. I let it go to voicemail. You think the cops will fix this? You're destroying your own people. You don't do that to family. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed a single message. You drugged me. You tried to rob me. That's not family. That's a felony. And then I blocked them. All of them. No more second chances. No more muted forgiveness. Just silence. I changed my number. Froze my credit. Rewrote my will. Set up alerts on every account I owned. Not out of paranoia, out of clarity. I knew who I was dealing with now. They didn't fight the charges. How could they? The audio was clear. The digital records matched. Even the officer who took my report said, "We can do this the easy way." And they did. Probation. Community service. Fines. No contact order. No prison time. But they lost more than their freedom, they lost their cover. I heard they sold the house. Legal fees. Debt. Damage control. No one in the family asked why. No one defended them. Just a long, humming silence that finally felt like peace. As for me? I didn't grieve what I lost. Because I finally understood what I never had. I saw my sister once after everything. By chance. A grocery store on the other side of town. She was wearing a vest and a company polo, stacking paper towels on a bottom shelf. She didn't see me. Or maybe she did, and just didn't want to. I watched her for a second longer than I should have. Long enough to feel a flicker of something I couldn't name. Not pity. Not triumph. Just a quiet ache for the version of us that never got to exist. She had lost her boyfriend. I'd heard from a mutual acquaintance, he moved out weeks after the truth came out. No drama. Just silence. Some endings don't need fireworks. They just fade. No one asks me for help anymore. There are no group chats. No guilt-laced favors. No unspoken debts hidden in birthday texts. Now, I open my fridge and know every item inside was bought by me, for me. I sleep without my phone on loud. I work, I walk, I breathe. And I'm not lonely. I'm free. People talk about family like it's unbreakable. Blood is thicker, they say. But they never mention what happens when blood becomes a weapon, when the people who raised you believe they own you. Leaving didn't ruin me. It saved me. The last thing I ever said to them was, "Thank you for dinner." And I meant it. Not for the food. Not for the company. But for the final clarity. Because that night, I didn't just leave the house. I left everything that hurt me behind. And I never looked back. Sometimes, the people who claim to love us the most are the ones who hurt us in ways strangers never could. This story isn't just about betrayal, it's about the quiet courage it takes to choose truth over loyalty, to stand up when everything in you has been trained to stay silent. The protagonist didn't walk away out of spite. She walked away because staying meant surrendering her self-respect one compromise at a time. She grew up being the responsible one, the peacekeeper, the fixer, and for years, she believed that made her strong. But real strength came the day she said no, it came the day she chose to stop carrying a family that was more than willing to let her fall apart if it meant they could stay afloat. Loyalty isn't blind obedience. It's rooted in mutual care, respect, and truth. And when those things disappear, choosing yourself is not betrayal, it's survival. This story reminds us that blood isn't always synonymous with trust, and that love without boundaries becomes manipulation in disguise. It takes bravery to step away from the people we once called home. It takes clarity to see when home has become a battleground. But the greatest act of love we can offer ourselves is this: walking away from harm, even when it comes wrapped in a familiar face. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say isn't "I forgive you." It's "I see you, and I'm done."